The National Desk, America's News, now.
It's just gut-wrenching. I mean, I was just in Minden, as I said, 3.5 weeks ago, and that was horrific, and I think there's even more debris.
As Iowa recovers from another day of devastation, 70 million more Americans are in the path of potential severe weather. Troubling new information arises out of marijuana use, especially for teens, as it becomes more socially acceptable and prominent than alcohol. Then the steps TikTok is taking internationally as they brace for a possible ban in the United States in the coming months. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David, and right now a tornado watch is in effect over central Texas from San Antonio to east of Dallas up until at least 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. This as severe storms range from Texas to upstate New York, impacting as many as 70 million people today. Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky also under a severe thunderstorm watch until 7 p.m. Central, with large hail as big as 2 inches across the state possible. At least 26 tornadoes were reported yesterday across 3 states. The worst hit was Iowa, that had at least 21 of those twisters. Multiple people have been confirmed dead in the town of Greenfield, although the exact number is not known right now. At least 12 people were hospitalized, and search and rescue missions missing residents are ongoing. The National Desk's Skylar Talal spoke with one family who lost almost everything but survived the night.
It's somber here in Greenfield following the devastating tornado that ripped through on Tuesday. The town of roughly 2,000 Iowans are now searching through the rubble, trying to salvage what little they can find of their belongings.
We've already done so well. I mean, this community has already done so well at just cleaning up the streets and getting to work on rebuilding.
What started as a normal day quickly turned into a nightmare for Cooper Brown and his family. He, his wife, and 3-year-old had to seek protection in their basement, hiding directly under the stairs.
I think right now it's a lot more just still in shock. I think just like everybody else, I think it'll take, a couple of days for it to really set in. While
Cooper's family is safe, their home directly in the tornado's path is gone, leaving only its foundation.
Yeah, my home's gone. That's my house. So if you can see the set of golf clubs sitting on the porch in the foundation of the basement, that's my house right there.
Searching through the rubble, Brown says his golf clubs are the only thing he can find. And have you been able to salvage anything from the home?
My golf clubs. That's about it. There's really not a whole lot left there. Like, everything that is around my house is not my stuff.
While the whole Greenfield community is still processing, Brown says he's just thankful his family is safe, and the next step is to rebuild. In Greenfield, Skylar Talal reporting.
And 2 people are dead, 3 others injured after a former employee opened fire at a linen company in Chester, Pennsylvania this morning. The suspect was arrested shortly after a traffic stop nearby. None of the names involved have been released. An exact motive is unclear, but the mayor of Chester confirmed that the person in custody knew the employee shot, and one of the bosses at the company is a victim in the shooting. And here's a live look over Washington, D.C., where the Republican National Committee headquarters are open again. This morning, the headquarters were locked down when someone sent a package containing 2 vials of blood addressed to former President Donald Trump. A hazmat team cleared the area at around 10 a.m. No injuries were reported, and it is unknown if there is a person of interest identified. The judge in former President Donald Trump's classified documents case is considering arguments she heard today from co-defendant Walt Nauta. He wants all of the charges dismissed, claiming the indictment had procedural issues. Nauta also argued that special counsel Jack Smith's team had selectively charged him. At the same time, Trump and his allies are up in arms about what the FBI was authorized to do in the original raid for the documents. The National Desk's Matt Gelka has more.
Joe Biden was locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger. That's how a new Donald Trump fundraising email read. It came shortly after newly unsealed documents revealed the FBI was authorized to use deadly force if necessary in the raid on his Mar-a-Lago home. His allies said the policy was over the top.
Listen, if they were looking for a serial killer who they thought was hiding there, yeah, it's maybe a little different. But they were looking for a box of documents.
Arizona Republican Congressman Paul Gosar said on social media Biden ordered a hit on Trump. Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene posted the Biden DOJ and FBI were planning to assassinate President Trump. And in his official account on Truth Social, Trump posted that Biden is a serious threat to democracy and mentally unfit to hold office because of the authorization. But the FBI pushed back on all of it, releasing their own statement reading, "The FBI followed standard protocol in this search as we do for all search warrants, which includes a standard policy statement limiting the use of deadly force. No one ordered additional steps to be taken, and there was no departure from the norm in this matter." Trump wasn't home at Mar-a-Lago when the raid happened in August of 2022. It uncovered classified material that Trump allegedly took from the White House. The newly unsealed findings also unearthed new pictures and revealed more classified documents were discovered months after the raid.
If Donald Trump's complaining about how in an affidavit or procedurally they had the authority to use deadly force, join the club. You're just like any other citizen.
There is now a second human case of bird flu linked to an outbreak in U.S. dairy cows. Today, health officials said a Michigan farm worker caught the virus after being in contact with cows and had mild symptoms. The first case was reported in late March after the illness was found in U.S. livestock. The virus has now spread to cows in 9 different states. Officials say pasteurized milk is still safe. And here's a live look at Speedway, Indiana, right outside of Indianapolis, where nearby coroners have renewed their effort to identify the remains of more than 10,000 bones on the estate of presumed serial killer Herb Baumeister. Baumeister committed suicide back in 1996 when he was linked to the death of 9 people then. Now investigators say they know of at least 13 victims that have been found on the property, 3 of whom were identified yesterday. Due to the number of bones present, authorities believe there could be as many as 25 people buried there. Concerning developments out of Pennsylvania, where dozens of people say they were physically and sexually abused at juvenile detention and treatment centers. In 4 separate lawsuits filed today, 66 people claim they were victimized by guards, nurses, and other workers. Some of the victims say employees ignored or didn't believe them when they reported the abuse. 3 of the facilities are run by the state Human Services Department. Teen cannabis use is strongly correlated with mental illness risk. That's according to a new study in the journal Psychological Medicine. It found that teens who used the drug in the last year were 11 times more likely to develop a psychotic disorder than those who did not. But in people aged 20 to 33, there was no connection. And using marijuana daily is now more common than drinking alcohol daily in the United States. New data from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health shows 2022 was the first time that ever happened. Nearly 18 million people used marijuana daily, while nearly 15 million people drank daily. Alcohol is still used more overall. A Tennessee judge is blocking the sale of Elvis Presley's former home for now. Graceland was set to be auctioned off tomorrow. A company claims Presley's estate failed to repay a loan that used the property as collateral. The King of Rock and Roll's granddaughter, Riley Keough, sued to keep Graceland. The mayor of Memphis is supportive of the family keeping the historical home.
We want to make sure that we maintain this amazing attraction for Memphis because so many people know Memphis as a result of Elvis Presley, and we want to make sure that that legacy remains strong.
Coming up, the action U.S. lawmakers are considering taking against the International Criminal Court in response to its arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. Then, who qualifies for the latest round of student debt cancellation totaling almost $8 billion? And later, a warning from a family in Maine after their house caught fire off of a battery. We'll be right back. Tonight, House Republican leaders weighing sanctions against the International Criminal Court days after it concluded it would seek arrest warrants for Israel's prime minister and other top Israeli leaders for committing what it called war crimes in the Israel-Hamas war. The court is also seeking arrest warrants for Hamas leadership. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson saying today that he spoke with Netanyahu about a congressional response and has encouraged a visit by the leader to address Congress.
We'll be issuing the letter as quickly as possible, and we look forward to him coming. It's a lot of important information for him to share, and I think he's anxious to be here.
The invitation is yet to go out, as Johnson says he's awaiting word from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to join the invitation. The development coming as an offensive in Gaza's Rafah continues, and global pressure on Israel appears to be gaining momentum. Tonight, Israel and the United States put on the defense, responding to the decision made by 3 European countries, Ireland, Spain, and Norway, to formally recognize a Palestinian state. The leaders of those countries said it was an important step and the best way to foster Mideast peace in a post-war Gaza. But the Biden administration pushing back on that, supporting a two-state solution, but opposing unilateral recognition. Here's what one Democratic lawmaker had to say.
This is not a constructive step at this time, and we should continue pressing for a two-state solution through negotiations.
Israel has since recalled its ambassadors from Norway and Ireland, along with Spain. Israel saying Palestinian statehood at this time amounts to a reward for terrorism, something Ireland in the past has called absurd. American lawmakers and military leaders are keeping a close eye on outer space amid threatening new actions by Russia. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joining us with what we now know about what the U.S. says Russia likely launched as a space weapon.
Russia taking tensions with the United States to lower Earth orbit. The Pentagon confirming Tuesday the Kremlin recently launched a counter-space weapon into the same path as a U.S. government satellite.
Presumably capable of attacking other satellites in low Earth orbit. Obviously, that's something that we'll continue to monitor.
Representative Mike Turner, the first to sound the alarm on the issue back in February, pressing the Biden administration for transparency and action.
The threat is very serious. Everyone who's looked at it uses the same language that I have, that it is a very serious threat.
Intelligence shows one space weapon Russia is developing uses nukes, which, if deployed, could have devastating consequences, taking out not just American satellites, but everyone's satellites, including Russia and China's.
So why would the Russians do this? The United States is more reliant on satellites than any country on the planet for everything. GPS, communications, internet, the whole shebang. Life would kind of be like 1986 in a lot of ways.
Replacing satellites would be time-consuming and extremely costly. Also, experts say parts of space would be unusable for up to a year.
But like the most immediate thing is that's a pretty big act of war. Like if the Russians detonate, we may be less concerned about when can I be using my GPS or posting on Instagram and more concerned on, holy cow, we're now at war with a nuclear-armed adversary.
Congress says they're monitoring the threats.
We have to stay on top of it because it is a dangerous step in the wrong direction.
Any use of nuclear weapons in outer space by Russia would violate a treaty signed by the United States and Russia explicitly banning such action. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting for the National Desk, America's News Now.
MasterCard is rolling out a new software update this week that uses AI to help predict fraud. The company said the technology will allow it to find out that a credit or debit card number has been compromised long before a cyber criminal can use it. MasterCard said it'll combine patterns or information like locations and times with incomplete but compromised card numbers to stop the fraud. Well, 12.6 years old, that's the average age of a car driven by Americans today, and that's according to S&P Global Mobility. For perspective, that's up 3 months from the average in 2023, and it's a record high. Americans appear to be hanging on to older vehicles for a much longer time. This as the average price to purchase a new vehicle in the U.S. is just over $45,000, pretty steep. Americans still feeling the impact of the supply chain shortages induced by COVID that created a limited inventory of vehicles. Another 160,000 Americans could soon have their student debt canceled under a new plan announced by the president today. The Education Department said it's forgiving $7.7 billion for certain people who qualify for public service loan forgiveness, some borrowers who signed up for the SAVE plan, and others. The Biden administration has approved $167 billion in debt forgiveness thus far. And new tonight, TikTok will be sending layoff notifications to up to 1,000 workers around the world. The extent of the layoffs is currently unknown, but insiders say that TikTok will be getting rid of its global operations team. The move coming weeks after President Biden signed into law that TikTok will be banned in the United States in the coming months unless the owner of it, ByteDance, sells the social app to a non-Chinese company. ByteDance has sued to block or delay the implementation of the proposed ban. Well, fish oil may do more harm than good in healthy people. That's according to a new study in BMJ Medicine following people aged 40 to 69 in the UK. It found that for people with healthy hearts, taking fish oil supplements regularly increased the risk of stroke by 5% and atrial fibrillation, or AFib, by 13%. But for those with AFib, supplementation lowered the risk of heart attack by 15%, and people with heart failure had a 9% lower risk of death. Meantime, cancer specialists, they say that the rates of cancer in young people, they want all of us to know that the early warning signs and the best screenings out there need to be taken into consideration to lower that risk. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares one survivor's story.
Hey there, hello to you. For months now, we've been following the story of Steve Abbott. He is a 12-year prostate cancer survivor with advanced disease. This is a picture where I recently spoke to him from his hospital room at the MD Anderson Cancer Center, where he's the first in the world on a new therapy using his own immune system in a unique way to fight this disease.
What they could do now is allow the immune system to see the prostate cancer cell, which it wasn't able to do before, which is why it couldn't do battle with it, basically.
Steve Abbott says his previous therapy he told us about here at Ohio's Urology Group worked well, but as his PSA numbers began to climb, his medical team suggested this clinical trial. He's just had one treatment of this breakthrough therapy, but already his PSA, which is a protein in the blood that measures prostate cancer risk, is showing improvement.
This was an early indicator. The trial doesn't yet call for it, but it was down to 16.6. And we started the trial at about 30, and that was on April 29th.
Cancer specialists at Ohio's University of Cincinnati Cancer Center say this is a reminder. The PSA is a critical number for guys to know.
We take a number of factors into consideration, but 4.0 tends to be the upper limit of normal.
Finding cancer early allows researchers now to do two things to make sure men get the right treatment. Specialists can now test and tell
whether it's local or metastatic, and even when it's local or metastatic, whether it may be aggressive or non-aggressive.
That allows for targeted treatment based on one's own disease.
Our goal would be to find the patients who need treatment and not treat those who don't need treatment.
For those such as Steve, getting what works based on your own body has been critical to survival. He says knowing your personal risk can help you save your own life.
Liz, thank you. And after days of speculation, NASCAR fined Ricky Stenhouse Jr. $75,000. It's the largest fine ever handed out by NASCAR for fighting. Ricky Stenhouse Sr. was suspended indefinitely for his role in last weekend's fight at the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Two other Stenhouse crew members received suspensions as well. Kyle Busch was not disciplined. Rapper Sean Diddy Combs facing more legal trouble. Crystal McKinney, the former winner of MTV's Model Mission, is suing him, saying he drugged and sexually assaulted her back in 2003. It is the 7th lawsuit that's named Diddy in the past few months. It comes just days after security cam footage showed him attacking his ex-girlfriend in 2016. Coming up, cyber criminals are going beyond the computer in a new scam. They're now knocking on people's doors. What to watch out for when we come back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We are taking the pulse of America.
It was very much so like a scene in a movie.
Tabby Dunphy was going inside her Freiburg home when she smelled something burning.
I opened the door and I immediately could obviously tell what was going on. It was kind of just billowing in the house.
The cause, according to the fire chief, a battery-powered leaf blower being stored upstairs. The Dunphys say it was the battery from this Ryobi 40-volt leaf blower trimmer combo kit they bought at Home Depot in 2021.
I know that they can be intense, but I never thought they would self-ignite and cause this kind of damage.
A Ryobi spokesperson sent us a statement saying they're saddened by what happened and is investigating if the product was involved while still standing by the company's quality, performance, and safety.
Usually when you hear about scams or scammers, you associate it with it being online, but this situation is very different. Not only are these suspects posing as Microsoft employees, but they're coming up to your doorstep in person.
They convinced our victims to go get cash, and then they sent an individual suspect to their house to collect the cash, which makes this one different than most of the frauds we see.
And the result?
It was someone who scammed our victims out of several $1,000s.
Nothing's that urgent, right? Like, you can call Microsoft's customer service number. There's ways that you can verify.
In San Antonio, there's new grant funding for a program dedicated to using artificial intelligence to help medical professionals make faster decisions in trauma situations. The principal investigator for the grant, Professor Brian Eastridge of UT Health San Antonio, said the program could also have broader implications.
If we actually had, promising results come out of this, there are a number of other disease entities such as stroke, cardiac disease.
And coming up, the first airline made specifically for dogs is about to launch, where the routes will go and how much tickets will cost when we come back. A new airline catered to dogs is about to take off. Beginning tomorrow, Bark Air will carry dogs of all sizes and their human companions on routes from New York, Los Angeles, and London. The airline said its goal is to offer an alternative to traditional air travel, which is often stressful to both dogs and their owners. The service does have some popularity already, with 15,000 requests for new destinations, but the flights won't come cheap. A one-way ticket for one dog and its owner costs $6,000 for domestic flights and $8,000 for international flights. Bark Air said it plans to add new routes throughout the summer. There you have it. That does it for this edition of the National Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage of America's top stories. Thank you so much for watching.